Scots Vyce Squad, giving voice to Scotland's character and characters. This episode gives voice to Richard Smith, tribute actor to Robert Burns. Here he tells us about his act and about the importance of Burns to Scotland.
So here we are, the next episode of Bluebunnet Scots Vyce Squad, and today we have Richard Smith. Who are you?
I'm Richard Smith, and I'm a tribute actor slash portrayer to Robert Burns.
So when people come out to see you, what do they get?
I'll give you an example. For example, this year we've been doing hotels, and we've been doing, it's basically a four-man show. So we have a comedian, we have a musician, my father actually, and the young piper. So once they've done most of their bit, I'll come out as Burns to when the comedian slash singer is singing My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose. Interact with the audience, being Burns, portraying Burns, kissing the ladies' hands, start off with maybe a romantic poem like Handsome Nell, then go into, for example, Tam O'Shanter, to a moose, whatever, really is, but certainly at this period of time it's been Tam O'Shanter and to a moose, Handsome Nell, and just whatever really the audience is like on the night.
And are you the main part of the show?
Yes, so when I'm doing it, I'm obviously coming out of a door somewhere where the audience didn't really see me to begin with, so I'm kind of just walking into the limelight, and of course we have the music, the soundtracks to go along with it. So once the music dies down, I'll speak, try and speak as close as I can in kind of 18th century tongue. Then go into one of the poems, for example, Handsome Nell, as I just mentioned, get very romantic, down on one knee in amongst the ladies, and of course with Tam O'Shanter, which is a bit different, do a wee spiel, let them know what the poem was about. Obviously one of the most famous poems in the world, as you know, 15 to 20 minutes long, depending on how long you can stretch it out. I was always told that Tam O'Shanter is not a recitation, it's a presentation. Ooh. So now we came to the idea now, obviously with the four of us, my dad would do the sound effects through the speakers, and would have the young piper, the jack on the lights for the scary bits. So when I'm running in amongst the audience, maybe jumping out on them, whatever, just to make it more electrifying really, just to kind of bring it to life.
And what first brought you to your enthusiasm for Burns?
My dad basically got a loan of my grandfather's car. My grandfather was a big nationalist, and he was the Corries daft. My dad listened to the Corries in that car. I asked my pop if he could borrow the tape, and that was it. So when he's put that tape in your car, I'm in the back listening to it, and I'm like, what they're singing about, why they singing about these guys, and I was just infatuated with it. It really was. And it wasn't just the Corries, it was like Gabber Lindsay, North Sea Gas, and occasionally it would be Nigel Tranter.
Aye. Which
would be like the stories, like Bonnie Prince Charlie, Burns, Wallace. And of course, at that time, it was mostly Wallace and Bruce for me. I wasn't really into the 18th century stuff, that came later. But Scotland in the 90s was going through a bit of a cultural thing. So for example, in 1996, when my dad was getting into the Burns stuff, due to that music, he actually revived an old Burns club. He'd be reciting in the front of the car, and I'm in the back listening. And so he would say, for example, when Chapman Billies leave there, and I'll go, street, Ruthie neighbours, neighbour, mate, and it. So I'd learned Tam O'Shanter by the time, half of it by the time I was 8 years old. throughout the 90s, my youth, I was born in 91, so throughout my whole youth it was just, everything was just Scotland daft really. The Burns suppers, that came probably around about that time as well. My dad obviously, big Burns man, and he had said to me, you should get involved and do it. But with Burns, as I say, I got involved when I was maybe, I would say my early 20s, mid-20s I would say. My first ever Burns supper that I took part in. I'd done half of Tam O'Shanter. I'd done it in my kilt and my dad done the other half. My dad had said to me, he says, you could make money doing that. I says, what do you mean? He says, you could portray Burns, day Burns. And obviously knowing some of the Jacobite guys, they could get me like the gear, some of the gear. So I got this old Jacobite look, this 18th century looking shirt, the waistcoat, shoes with the buckles on them, and I was like kilt socks, but it was to make it look like my trousers were +4s. So it was very, very amateur looking at the start. Got my face all done white, came out as the ghost of Robert Burns. Done it for the first time and it went down really well. I done Scots Vyce in a kind of different version, obviously no singing it. It was more of a kind of rant really, and Tam O'Shanter. So I had to go the extra mile. Got myself it was a wig from the party shop. Looked like a very bad Paul McCartney, but got that, managed to kind of bring down the sides to make it look like sideburns. Still had the waistcoat and whatever, and that was early 2019 that I had done that, and then maybe done, I don't know, 9 or 10 different Burns suppers. So word was getting about, I got a wee Facebook page, and I thought, right, I kind of need to step it up here a wee bit. So this is unbelievable. The chances of this is 1 in a million, if no more. There was a gentleman by the name of Donald Kay, who was a tour guide in Ayrshire, and he was dressed as Burns. Actually, like the whole year, the wig, the glue on sideburns, I mean, you name it. He had the riding boots, trousers, the whole shebang, and he was putting it up for sale. All this gear up for sale on Facebook Marketplace. And Marty, a good friend of mine, had actually messaged me saying, Reg, would you be interested in this? I mean, this is wow. And I'm looking at all the sizes, like the boots and I'm like, this is uncanny. This has to happen. It's written in the stars, So, and from there on, I think it was 2024, early 24. We were doing a charity gig in Pullman, and there was an agent there, and he had said to me maybe 6 or 7 months later, said, do you fancy doing hotels? And I was, hi, I mean, I've not got a show or anything right out, or he says, no, he says, we're all going to be part of the show kind of thing, we'll fit it all in, and just kind of do it as we go along. So, and that was it really, and just, I've been doing it ever since. Some people are into it, some people aren't, and that's fine, but it's, if you come to Scotland, you're going to get Scotland, If you're going to do Burns, you need to do it, you need to make it entertaining. It has to be entertaining. This whole thing with guys getting up and doing 40-minute monologues and 50-minute monologues, people aren't there to be lectured, they're there to be entertained. And it's, I mean, absolutely, we need to know about Burns, and we need to have like the immortal memory, and we need to have this, and we need to have that. I mean, that's fine. But there's, for example, if it's a mixed crowd, if you get ladies in, if it's a proper Burns crowd with Burns people, they'll enjoy it. Like, they'll enjoy the whole 50-minute, an hour monologues, whatever. But I think the days are past. I think now it has to be kind of be modernised. I think we need to embrace the fact that, I mean, it's not for everybody, I understand that, but we need to keep Scotland's culture alive, and for younger people, especially this generation, who can't keep away from their phones for less than 20 minutes. Because that's one thing I'm afraid of, is burns becoming almost like a Facebook post every year. Like, I've got my haggis and my iron brew, happy burns night, and that's it. Like, I'm not wanting that to happen in the future. You know, when I'm going to these burn suppers, I mean, it's alright for me to go into hotels and that. I'm dealing with, you know, younger people, and I mean, there's elderly people, all different kinds of ages. But in burn suppers, especially in the local area in Falkirk, it's mostly elderly gentlemen, and of course, I mean, there is young guys here today, obviously, and if it's a mixed crowd, there's ladies here as well. But we need to refresh it, because the signs are there that it's wearing thin.
And if you were getting people to understand burns, what is the thing that you would like people to know about burns? What is it, or what part of his work do you want people to get?
Burns has to be looked at seriously, and I don't think the Scottish Government take him very seriously. I think because of this whole myth surrounding him, you know, he was a womanizer, and he liked to drink. I mean, they were all at it back then. This is the 18th century, and everybody's still, you know, he was a man. He wasn't perfect, you know. So I to promote burns is to see him as a human being, not as a character. To see him, he was a human being. He was a man. He was like you and I sitting here. For me to portray him, I mean, that is the idea of the ghost of Robert Burns. It's to show that it's him. I'm portraying him. It's not like, for example, all due respect to what Donald was doing, it was brilliant what he was doing as a tour guide. But for myself, it was all about portraying him, being him, walking into a room and being him, being the man himself. So I try and kind of stay away from the characterisation.
What do you think his magic was?
I think there was a quote from Walter Scott. They had seen Burns in an Edinburgh shop, and it was what Walter Scott had said to him, he had said to whoever it is he was speaking to, it was like a furnace burning at the back of his eyes. So it just showed you that Burns was watching everything that was going on, and so he had an eye for everything, and there was obviously plenty going on behind the eyes, and he was aware of everything that was going on, and that, it's astonishing when you look at poems like "To a Mouse" and "To a Louse," for example, or just anything to do with nature. He poured his soul into it. It was as if he was at one with nature. It was just a one-off, and I think guys like him will never be seen again.
And do you think there is a problem with the format of Burns suppers?
Yes, I think there is. As I said earlier, the whole idea of monologues going on for ages. I think they need to kind of freshen it up. I think we have to look at what we could offer in regards to timing wise. I think maybe 15 minutes at the most in an immortal memory. There's guys that went up and done an immortal memory for an hour and 10 minutes, and there's guys sitting there just getting drunk and falling asleep. Like, Burn Supper's meant to be a great night. It's meant to be a fantastic night. It's meant to be enjoyable, and let's not kid ourselves on. A lot of people are there for the grub and the whiskey and the music, and obviously the entertainment, and that's what it should be about. It shouldn't be all about, Burns did this, Burns did that, and I mean, to a degree, we still need to have certain elements of it. It's part of your culture. The man needs to be recognised for what he done, and I think, that should be the case, absolutely. But we need to, I think, kind of go down a wee bit on the storytelling. Same with the jokes as well, like the Toast to the Lassies. There's guys that'll do about 40 jokes, and it's just,
Tiresome.
It's very tiresome. And I think, short and sweet. Keep it funny, short and sweet, and I think that's the direction Burns Supper should be going in. And I think for the man Burns was, he was a boy. He was a bit of a lad, and he loved a laugh. The Bachelors Club, for example, he loved having a good time, and certainly that would have been the case for him, and I think that should be the case for Burns Suppers.
And how would you like to see it developing? What would you like to take it forward with?
Well, as I've said before, I think the Scottish Government need to do more. I think they need to do more. I think they give like, for example, speeches in the First Minister's address, or maybe a wee bit of recognition on Burns Night. I mean, I don't think that's enough. If he was voted Scotland's greatest ever Scot, then it should be recognised more. I think in the tourist side of things as well, I think it needs to be recognised more. How there's never been a mainstream film about that man, I've no idea. There's more statues of Robert Burns than anywhere else in the world, with the exception of Queen Victoria and Christopher Columbus. I mean, he's the only man in the world that had his face in a Coca-Cola bottle. So for me, it's Scotland need to step up a wee bit more, I think.
It's a shame, isn't it, that it's one day a year. That's not right, is it?
Well, this is what I say to people, especially when I've been doing the hotels this year. You get people from Yorkshire or Liverpool or Manchester, and they're coming up, and I'm like, and bearing in mind we only finished on the 2nd of April there, and somebody was saying, why are you still doing Burns Nights? I'm like, it's no Burns Night, it's Burns season, and it should be Burns season. Look at St Patrick's Day in Ireland. I mean, St Patrick's Day is celebrated in every country in the world just about. St Andrew's Day, nothing's done for St Andrew's Day. No. We're meant to be one of the most proudest nations in the world, and there's nobody really interested about it, and I find that frightening. I really do.
I think it's unnatural, and I'm not sure that it's happened naturally. Now that we have Scots as an official language, I think there's a tremendous opportunity to use Burns as a figurehead to reach out with more Scots.
Aye, I think we need to. It has to be taught more in school. I got it at school, and it was just a story of his life, and which is fine, But I think his work. I mean, they're studying Burns in Ukraine, and they were doing it. I mean, obviously, what's happening in Ukraine just now, and that's another thing as well. I was told, years ago, Russia would have opened their arms to me, doing Burns, because obviously Burns was linked with socialism and what have you, and that's what's kind of sad about it. Countries like Russia, Ukraine, and even to an extent the States, Canada, they're all learning about Burns. In Scotland, there's nothing happening, nothing at all.
If you compare it with the status of William Shakespeare in England, that's how you can see the deficit. One of the things about Burns is, as you know, when you look at his work, it's so well written, it's so good, he doesn't put a foot wrong. You have things like My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose, which on the face of it seems so simple that anybody could do it, but they can't.
No.
It's so balanced.
It is. I mean, as you said, My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose. Bob Dylan said that was the greatest love song ever written. I mean, you really, with Burns, there's so many different things that he wrote about. Like, for example, he wrote a poem on a suicide, or Epitaph on My Friend. So from that to My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose to, Tam O'Shanter, Scots Wha Hae, Such a Parcel of Rogues in a Nation, Sic a Parcel of Rogues in a Nation. But I've obviously always said, stick to the man, read about the man, is more enjoyable than the myth. I'll say yet again, from Mulvers Like a Red Red Rose to all different matters and subjects of life, it's almost like he missed nothing. He missed nothing.
Where would you like to see the legacy of Burns going? Would the Scottish Government help with that kind of thing?
I think the Tourist Board is, well, the Scottish Government and the Tourist Board, they have to promote him better. They have to, I think they have to reach out to younger people. I think they need to give it a more kind of simpler outlook, not just, you know, Burns was a wee man at Rip Williams all the time, and you know, like, he was an exciseman, you know, he was obviously a farmer, and he wrote the most famous song in the world, Auld Lang Syne. Everywhere that Burns visited should be, you know, a plaque or a wee memorial of some sort. I mean, when you look at America, for example, I mean, when you look at, I don't know, you look at figureheads there, Elvis Presley. I'm a big fan of Elvis, right? Right? And wherever Elvis has ever been in the States, there's always something there to say Elvis was here on this day. Elvis, you know, Scotland needs to do more of that with Burns.
I've always seen a synthesis between Elvis and Robert Burns for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Elvis was, in my opinion, he was the greatest entertainer of all time. No question about it. And then you've got Burns, and for me, the greatest writer of all time. And interesting as well, I was actually listening to Elvis singing Auld Lang Syne at one point. I think that's quite ironic, that, you know. My hero's singing my other hero's song, you know. So, but for somebody of Burns' stature, and for all that he believed in, you know, a man that was believed in equality and fairness in a system where it very much wasn't, you know, and the love of his country. There was, I don't think there's ever been anybody like him.
Richard Smith, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.